So let's talk about All Elite Wrestling. It's been rumored for many months, and now it's officially confirmed by the Elite. Cody and the Young Bucks are actually going to hold, not only be talent, but they're going to hold executive positions within the company. I think Kenny Omega also is going to be among those people. Pretty much the entire Elite is going to cross over into this All Elite Wrestling promotion. Obviously, it's in the name. I think anyone who's a real wrestling fan should definitely be maybe not excited, because there are a lot of startup wrestling promotions that seem to have had everything going for it and they just couldn't get off the ground. But I think something's telling me this is going to be a little bit different for two reasons. One, they have a billionaire back in the company. The Khan family is very rich. They have vested interest in different types of sports. So they're rich. They can fund this, or at least get it going from the ground up. And I guess then the Young Bucks and the Elite, that entire group is going to be holding executive positions in the company, making certain booking decisions, making certain financial decisions, because these guys have good business minds. Cody and the Young Bucks especially, able to sell their own merchandise, make seven figures on their own. It's pretty impressive what these guys are able to do. No matter what you think of them, no matter what you think of their style of wrestling, if it's a little too flashy, if it's not like the old days like you remember, because there are a variety of different wrestling fans that are subscribed to my channel. You have the bloodthirsty original ECW fans. You also have the old school NWA fans who believe in the old style of wrestling, like talking about pre-WWF. I'm talking about the wrestling of the 60s and 70s. You have a couple of them out there that are also subscribed to me. But predominantly you have the WWE fan base that seems to care a lot more about the storylines and the character development and all that stuff compared to the actual in-ring action. And I think All Elite Wrestling has both of those things going for it. First, they have the Elite, which on its own is good so far, but obviously they're going to be a faction or a stable. They might be like the heel authority figures in the company. I don't know what their storyline plan is, but I mean, for God's sake, if the company is named after the Elite and the Elite is holding non-kayfabe real executive positions in the company, then I'm sure it's going to translate into the storyline in some ways. Hopefully it's not like an NWO situation where pretty much the top guys, Hall, Nash, Hogan, were just running the whole thing and they didn't give a crap about pushing younger talent, pushing new talent. I don't think the same thing is going to happen in this case, because these seem like guys who are not only businessmen, they care about making money and all that, but they also seem to have a real passion about the professional wrestling industry. So I think that they are not going to do what the NWO did in WCW. Although I'm not a big fan of the name All Elite Wrestling, because it kind of already assumes that the Elite is going to be the focus of the entire promotion. And I understand the Elite is a hot commodity and you want to promote that brand, but I just think divorcing the name of the promotion from the wrestling faction would have been a better thing for me, but whatever. I mean, it's still a better name than TNA Wrestling. And, during the early days of TNA, people didn't care about how ridiculous the name was. It's just the wrestling, the action, the overall presentation, and even some of the characters. I mean, you, out of all gimmicks, you had a guy pretending to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, dressed up as a shark, and he was getting over. I mean, and he was really getting over. It's like ridiculous how over he was. Shark Boy, I'm talking about. But oh man, I think this is great news. I think this has potential to really, even if you're just a WWE fan, you have zero interest in this product, competition is good. Competition is always good no matter what industry you're talking about, no matter what you're thinking about. Competition is always a great thing, because even if you're not a fan of the competition, even if you weren't a WCW fan back in the 90s, and I know a good deal of people that didn't watch a single episode of Nitro, or maybe they watched a few and it just wasn't for them, but they were able to benefit from that, because that forced WWE/WWF to improve their products significantly. I mean, WWF 1996 and 1997 were two completely, like, they were unrecognizable. You know what I mean? They were completely different presentations, less cartoony, less ridiculous, more edgy, and more reflective of the interests of the fans, basically. That what kept them interested, not whatever WWE decided to shove down their throats at any given point. Now, I think in order for this promotion to succeed, and it will take time, it will take a couple years at the minimum, because WCW existed for about a decade before they actually had the TV deal and before they were actually becoming a serious competition to WWE/WWF. But I think it will take some time for this to actually get off the ground because, again, it's about name value, name recognition, and these guys are very popular on the internet. They're very popular among the Smark community. But let's be honest, these guys, they do have some mainstream appeal to them. I mean, everyone, if you walk to a random person on the street, you say, who's Hulk Hogan back in the 1990s? Everyone knew who Hulk Hogan was. That may not necessarily be the case for Kenny Omega. And, the whole, the Young Bucks, the Cody Rhodes or Hangman Page or whoever else is a member of the Elite. Most people are going to be like, who the hell is that? I think that has more to do with not that they're bad talent or because they don't have mainstream appeal to them. It's more because of the promotion that they were wrestling in, New Japan Pro Wrestling, which that promotion in of itself does not have mainstream Western appeal to it. Even your average wrestling fan's not going to bother watching live pay-per-views at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not going to bother watching this Japanese product that is very foreign to them in terms of how it's presented. Most of the characters don't speak English also. That's another thing. So that was the thing that kind of held the Elite back from reaching their full potential. I think this being a Western focused product would actually benefit them in terms of their stock. Even if this promotion fails, it would at least get more eyeballs into them. So I think that no matter what, this is great for the Elite. It'll definitely raise their stock at least a little bit. I think they're gonna have to pull some talent from WWE. Whether it's immediately or within a year or 2 years after the promotion, gets off the ground, whenever that may be. I know they're in the very early stages of getting everything organized and all that. Television's essential. They cannot get off the ground without a television deal. I know that the internet is a big thing these days, but I guarantee you if they're only on the internet, that's not going to be good for them. I think that would be a bad idea. I mean, maybe you could put it on Twitch or put it on YouTube and live stream it, but I think in terms of just it's not even about viewership. It's more about when you have a TV deal, there's a lot of money on the table. I mean, look at WWE, for example. They made a deal with Fox, $1 billion deal. I mean, it's just insane. So there's so much money on the table, and that would benefit a startup promotion like them, even if it's not a whole lot of money, like, $1 billion or even $100 million. Maybe it's a little bit less than that, but it's still enough to continue the thing going. You have the advertising revenue coming in, and advertising is way more reliable on television than it is on the internet because, first of all, a lot of people are using ad blockers. You can't ad block TV ads. TV is still, despite its decline, it's still an important outlet. Even if you're brand new, the TV deal is very important. So just because it's a new time period, just because just because TV might be on the decline, doesn't mean TV is not an important thing. So that's one thing. Another thing that they absolutely need to do, like I was alluding to earlier, is take WWE talent. Because, again, the Young Bucks alone, Kenny Omega alone, Cody Rhodes alone, is not going to be able to run a successful wrestling promotion. You need more names. Now, I don't know if that's going to be like an AJ Styles or big names like that. I am very doubtful. I think these guys are very happy where they are right now. I mean, they would have to try to match WWE's salary, and right now what AJ Styles is interested in is just, whatever's best for his family. WWE's paying him the big bucks, And I guarantee you, when AJ Styles' deal expires in, I think it's April, and if this All Elite promotion tries to approach AJ Styles, and WWE is aware of this, they're going to make sure AJ Styles goes nowhere, because AJ Styles has been a flagship. He's been one of the most important stars of their company in this current new era of wrestling. Definitely, he's pretty much the Shawn Michaels. I know I don't really like comparing wrestlers to previous generations, but he's definitely kind of like the Shawn Michaels of the current generation. He's very important, and he's very valuable. If they lost AJ Styles, that would be very bad for WWE. I guess it would be good for him because he'd be in this new promotion. He'd still be getting good money, but I honestly think that they should go for upper mid-carders. That's pretty much the best I think they're going to get at this point. I think the top guys, like your Randy Ortons, no way John Cena is going to go anywhere. But, those top guys, your Jeff Hardys, there's pretty much no chance they're going to leave. You're better off, you're more likely to get like a Samoa Joe, maybe a Bobby Roode, those kind of guys, then you're going to get someone like a Randy Orton or like a big name. So I think that's very unlikely. I mean, they could surprise me, but I don't think these guys are very comfortable where they are. They really would have no interest in leaving, because these guys, remember, WCW had billionaire Ted Turner on their back, and these guys, the Khan family is also very rich, but I don't know if they're gonna outmatch WWE at this point, because WWE, despite its declining ratings, despite all that, it's still doing relatively well in terms of revenue. They're making so much money with the WWE network. I mean, they have a global, its global reach is ever expanding in places like the UK, expanding in other markets, the Middle Eastern market, for better or worse. Some people are not very happy with the Saudi Arabian thing. But yeah, I mean, WWE is really, they can't be outmatched. I mean, it would really take a lot. I mean, I could see someone like Samoa Joe slipping through the cracks. WWE they don't really see him as a very valuable asset, although they should, because Samoa Joe is amazing. But, you're not going to get your big-time names like WCW. They signed Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan. They signed huge names. Pretty much everyone who used to be in WWF in the late 80s, early 90s made its way to WCW at one point during this time. They were just gobbling up everyone. And I think that's something that they should probably try to avoid. They should definitely sign people, but they shouldn't just go crazy with signing. Anyone who has name value should just be signed. That's bad. They should not do that. Because that was a big mistake with WCW. They were just signing. That was their business strategy, though. They were just signing anyone who had name value to try to garner interest in the product. But remember, TNA did the same exact thing, and look where TNA is right now. It was not enough to really help the company grow. But I think one thing that this company will have better than TNA is competent management, people who actually know the wrestling industry, who actually know what the hell's going on. These are people who've been wrestlers for decades, know the industry inside out. And then, even the Khan family, who's just, they're investors. But, the father is the owner, obviously. But the son is actually very interested in wrestling, and he definitely seems like he has some knowledge of how the industry works. So I think in that regard, AEW has a more probably has a better chance of taking WWE on than TNA did, even at TNA's heyday when they were a solid number 2 promotion. I'm talking about 2008, 2009, and parts of 2010, but 2010, of course, when they had new management and all that, is when it started going downhill. So I think it has a lot going for it, but you never know. It could just end up being a colossal failure. But something's telling me this is the beginning of a new golden age in professional wrestling, and everybody should be excited for this. So yeah, I'm very excited, definitely. And well, it remains to be seen. Really, I can speculate all you want, but I don't know anything about what kind of television deals they have, what their business model is, if they're gonna have a streaming service, if they're gonna partner with like New Japan and AAA or any other international promotion, or even a domestic promotion like the NWA or Ring of Honor. They seem more willing to work with their quote unquote competition than WWE would. I remember All In was successful, but it was a show that consisted of wrestlers from multiple promotions. We're talking about Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and CMLL. So they're going to have to sign people away from a lot of these promotions, and that might cause bad blood with, between them and other promotions. But I think, you're more likely to have like an AEW New Japan Super Show than a WWE New Japan Super Show. So I think they're going to try to work together with other promotions, but I think they're probably better off just trying to steal that promotion's talent, honestly, than trying to just work together and coexist with them. Not to say that they should be cutthroat like the McMahons. Just everyone that's a competition, just put them all out of business. But at the same time, I believe that while their passion is definitely a good thing, they should also be businessmen, and they should treat this like a business venture first and a passion project second, because at the end of the day, you had so many passionate people running these promotions like Ring of Honor, Evolve, any small indie promotion you can think of that has amazing wrestling, that has passionate wrestling fans running the promotion. It just couldn't get off the ground. So they need to make certain business decisions that may not be the most popular or most well looked upon practices, but they need to do that if they really want to compete with WWE. Because you know what? Say what you want about Eric Bischoff and about WCW and the way they ran things, but them being cutthroat and them really taking on the McMahons was what made the Monday Night War happen. Right? If they didn't take those risks, if they didn't do those outlandish things like throwing the women's title in the trash bin and doing all those crazy things like they were doing, signing everyone away, they wouldn't be where they were back then. They would have just been a blip on the radar at that point. So AEW, the elite, the cons, whoever's running the show, they need to do certain things in order to be viable competitors, and you have to run the promotion as a business first and foremost. And ultimately, I think that them having that money, having billionaire investors, and them having actual authority in the company, talking about the elite, probably makes things look really good for them, I think, in the long run. And I think if they just don't rush things, I think they're taking their time with this. They're thinking very carefully about what to do, which is good. Like I said, these people have really good business minds. These guys seem like they know what they're doing. I think things will be good, even if you have no interest in this product at all. You don't give less of a damn about the Young Bucks or Cody Rhodes or Kenny Omega. It's still a very good thing for you because it's guaranteed, even if this thing doesn't even doesn't even become half as big as WWE, but it gets buzz. It is going to force WWE to make at least some changes. It's going to force WWE to look at things a little bit differently, because again, it's like the early to mid 1990s. WWE was such a bad product because, well, there was nothing else in town. You know what I mean? You could say what you want about the declining ratings and everything right now, but at the end of the day, they're still making a lot of money because of the network, because of all these other ways they're monetizing and expanding into other countries. So I think AEW needs to tap into that. They need to try to match WWE in terms of that. With expanding global influence, partner up with New Japan, do what you want to do with that. But you also need to sign some talent away from promotions like Ring of Honor and those other ones, even WWE, in order to really have a shot at getting your this startup off the ground. Because there has to be a balance. You can't just be a total passion project, but you also can't just make awful business decisions also. So we'll see what happens. It should be very interesting in the future, and I think this will be a very good thing for the industry as a whole, because what's really made the industry so stagnant over the years was the lack of competition. Notice, as soon as WWF purchased WCW in 2001, 2001 was the year that the wrestling industry became less popular in overall mainstream culture, because they had no reason to push the boundary every week. Because they pushed the boundary every week because there was a good chance that they were all going to be put out of business and all be out of work. Everyone working at WWF at that point. So AEW, whether it takes 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years from now, if it takes 10 years for them to really get on that level, they just need to make it happen. And that would be a great thing for the industry as a whole.